If you want to understand, like, the absolute bleeding edge of modern manufacturing, supply chain logistics, and, well, risk management, you really shouldn't be looking at a microchip factory.
Right, or an electric vehicle plant,
Exactly. You should be looking at a chicken.
Yeah, a chicken.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are taking you inside the highly guarded, highly optimized world of commercial agriculture.
And we're using a really detailed operational guide to a modern, quote-unquote, amazing poultry farm as our source material today.
Yeah, and if you, as the listener, are picturing, a weathered red barn, maybe a sleepy rooster crowing at dawn, and a farmer scattering seeds in the dirt.
You really need to completely erase that image from your mind.
Totally.
Because, that pastoral image is nostalgic, sure, but it is completely detached from the brutal, brilliant economic reality of high-yield agriculture today.
Right.
The source footage we're analyzing, it doesn't depict a farm in the traditional sense. It depicts a highly controlled biological manufacturing plant.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to sort of tear down the illusion of the rustic barnyard and show you exactly how a biological life cycle is reverse engineered for maximum profitability.
Exactly.
We're going to explore how curious entrepreneurs are marrying raw agricultural inputs with, precise, smart home level engineering.
Yeah, and what really stands out in this source material is this core operational philosophy. It's a constant, deliberate friction between what the guide calls menat.
Right, the raw, hard manual labor of the human workers.
Yes, that menat. And the silent, invisible precision of automated technology.
And what's fascinating here is how manipulating basic environmental factors at scale completely changes the business's bottom line.
Oh, absolutely. The most successful operators, they understand that you cannot just let nature take its course.
Because nature is chaotic.
Right. Nature is unpredictable. In this business model, you have to optimize every single step of that course just to survive the margins.
And that optimization, it starts long before a single egg ever rolls down a conveyor belt.
It starts with the infrastructure.
Yeah, let's look at the foundational business problem, which is the physical environment. The aerial shots in our source guide are just staggering.
They're massive.
You are looking at these massive warehouse-scale buildings stretching across the landscape. But the first thing the guide emphasizes isn't the birds.
No, it's the walls.
Right, the walls. Specifically, these massive industrial-grade exhaust fans built directly into the infrastructure.
Running constantly.
Running 24/7, alongside machine monitoring of the internal temperature and humidity. Now, if the temperature is even slightly off, does the whole system crash?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because it sounds like we're managing a sensitive server room rather than a flock of birds.
Well, those fans and sensors, they are the absolute bedrock of the operation. Without them, the rest of the business model collapses.
I have to be honest, looking at those spinning turbines, my first thought was just about overhead.
Oh, the electricity bill?
Yeah. Running industrial fans around the clock, paired with a massive digital sensor network, it sounds like an unbelievable electricity drain.
It is a huge drain.
So, I get wanting the birds to be comfortable, but couldn't you just design the building with better passive ventilation? Like, open some roof vents.
You would think so.
It just feels like we were drastically over-engineering a bird cage just to keep a breeze going.
Well, that is a very common assumption that climate control is about comfort. But it's not about comfort at all.
No.
Not even a little. It is strict caloric math.
Okay, break that down for me.
Let's look at the biology from an economic perspective. Birds are warm-blooded creatures, right? They have a biological imperative to maintain a specific internal body temperature.
Sure.
If the temperature inside that massive warehouse drops even a few degrees below the optimal zone, the birds experience cold stress.
And when you get cold, you shiver.
Right.
Your metabolism kicks into overdrive to generate heat.
Exactly. But where does the bird get the energy to generate that heat?
From the food.
It gets it from the feed, from the calories it consumes. Now, put yourself in the shoes of the entrepreneur running this facility. You pay for every ounce of that feed. If your birds are burning those expensive calories just to keep their internal body temperature up, they are not using those calories to grow muscle.
Wow.
And they are not using them to produce eggs. You are literally watching your profit margin evaporate into body heat.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it like that. And I imagine the reverse is true if the warehouse gets too hot.
Oh, it's even worse.
Really?
Yeah. If the humidity spikes and the ambient temperature rises, the flock becomes heat stressed.
Oh.
Their appetite plummets.
They stop eating.
They stop eating entirely, which means egg production grinds to an absolute halt. And honestly, mortality rates can spike within hours.
That's terrifying for a business owner.
So paying the massive electricity bill to run those exhaust fans isn't a luxury. It is a rigid financial control.
It's protecting the investment.
Exactly. The sensors and the fans ensure that the biological server room stays perfectly balanced, guaranteeing that every dollar spent on fuel translates directly into the final product.
Which perfectly transitions us to that very fuel. Because once you have the climate dialed in, once the environment is a perfectly stable vacuum, you have to introduce the input.
The feed.
The feed. And the video shows a really stark contrast here. You see the workers engaging in that mat,
The manual labor.
hauling and loading these incredibly heavy sacks of feed into a central hopper by hand.
Yeah, it looks exhausting.
It is grueling, physical labor. But the moment the feed hits that hopper, the manual labor completely vanishes.
The facility just hands the baton over to the automated distribution system.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The feed is pushed through automatic machines, traveling down these mechanized lines straight to the cages.
Automatically perfectly synchronized with the water supply, too.
Right. And the guide explicitly states the goal of this massive mechanical undertaking. It's ensuring every single bird gets equal, uniform nutrition.
Uniformity is everything.
It's like meal prepping for 10,000 elite athletes at the exact same time.
That's a great way to put it.
You can't have one athlete eating a massive steak and another surviving on a single cracker if you expect the entire team to perform exactly the same routine.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
you start to see why uniform feeding is the ultimate game changer for scaling an agricultural enterprise.
How so?
Think about the traditional farmyard you mentioned earlier. The farmer scatters a bucket of feed on the ground. What happens?
Well, I guess the biggest, most aggressive birds rush in and eat the lion's share, and the smaller, timid birds get pushed to the back.
Precisely. It creates a massive biological hierarchy.
Huh?
You end up with a flock of completely different sizes, consuming different caloric loads, and naturally producing eggs at wildly different, unpredictable rates.
Which is bad for business.
Unpredictability is the enemy of any modern business. I mean, if you walk into a bank in 2026 to ask for a multi-million-dollar expansion loan, you cannot slide a business plan across the desk that says, well, we might hit our quota this month or we might miss it by 40%.
Depending on the pecking order of the flock.
Right. The bank will laugh you out of the room.
They want a reliable spreadsheet. They want a manufacturing forecast.
And that is exactly what the automatic feeding system delivers. By mechanically ensuring that every single bird receives the exact same volume of feed and water at the exact same time, you strip away the behavioral chaos.
You remove the pecking order.
Yes, uniform feeding forces uniform growth. Uniform growth results in highly predictable, standardized egg yields.
This is so systematic.
You take a messy living ecosystem and force it to behave like a predictable assembly line. You know precisely what your output will be because you mathematically control the input.
It is brilliant, ruthless efficiency. Which brings us to the output itself, the eggs.
The final product.
We have the perfect machine-regulated climate. We have the hyper-engineered, mathematically uniform diet. The birds do what they do.
Right.
But as we follow the operational life cycle in the source video, the workflow hits a jarring speed bump.
Oh, you mean the collection phase?
Yeah. We have been talking about all this high-tech automation doing the heavy lifting, but when it comes time for the egg collection, we suddenly see a massive visual shift back to human hands.
The manual labor returns to the forefront.
Yes. And I really struggle to see the logic here. We are watching human workers physically walking the endless rows of cages,
Carefully picking up individual eggs by hand.
running a visual quality check, and then systematically placing them into trays to be stamped and marked. Wait, with all this incredible automation for feeding and climate, why are we reverting to humans carefully placing eggs in trays by hand?
It seems counterintuitive.
Isn't that a massive bottleneck in 2026?
I mean,
I mean, why wouldn't a modern farm just install an automated suction arm to clear the cages in half the time?
right, where is the return on investment for human payroll here?
Exactly.
Well, it looks like a bottleneck, but only if you are measuring success purely by velocity.
Okay, so what's the real metric?
This specific workflow highlights the core theme of our source material. It's the strategic, deliberate marriage of technology and human labor.
The minute.
The minute. The farm owner isn't using humans because they forgot to buy a robot. They are using humans because, for this specific task, a human is still the most sophisticated piece of machinery available.
More sophisticated than an optical sensor.
When it comes to a fragile biological product, absolutely. Machines are unparalleled at pushing massive volumes of air or moving tons of grain.
Right.
But handling a newly laid egg requires nuanced dexterity, and more importantly, it requires subjective judgment.
A subjective judgment for an egg.
The video emphasizes the strict quality check happening right there at the cage. A human worker's eye can instantly detect a microfracture in the calcium shell,
Oh, I see.
or a slight abnormal discoloration, or an irregular shape that an algorithm might easily misinterpret or miss entirely.
And if a machine misses that microfracture and that egg gets packed, stamped, and shipped to a grocery store.
The shell cracks in transit. It leaks onto the other eggs.
Gross.
It spoils. The consumer opens the carton in their kitchen, sees a rotten mess, and immediately associates your farm's stamped brand with poor quality.
And that's disastrous.
In a commodity market, your brand reputation is everything. So reverting to manual labor for the collection and quality assurance phase isn't a failure of modernization.
It's an intentional, highly strategic choice.
Exactly. The technology is utilized to create the perfect conditions to mass produce the commodity, but the human touch is deployed to curate it, ensuring that only a premium, flawless product reaches the market.
That reframes it completely. You automate the volume, but you manualize the quality control.
Well said.
But the journey of these eggs doesn't stop at the collection tray. The video guide takes us to a segregated area of the facility for the eggs that aren't destined for the grocery aisle.
Right, the fertile ones.
The guide explicitly calls this section the most important part of the entire farm, the hatchery.
The engine room of the entire enterprise.
The visuals here are straight out of a sci-fi film. Workers are loading these specific breeder eggs into massive, specialized incubation machines.
These giant metallic cabinets that look like mainframes.
Yeah, and we see the hatching process, the chips emerging. The narrator, once again, hammers home the absolute necessity of flawless temperature and humidity control in this one specific zone.
It's hyper-controlled.
So what does this all mean? Why does the video go out of its way to crown the hatchery as the most critical operation? Is it just to save a few bucks on buying new birds from an outside vendor?
Oh, it is about infinitely more than just saving a few dollars on purchasing stock. The hatchery is the most important part of the farm because it dictates the operational longevity and the sovereignty of the entire business.
Sovereignty.
To understand this, think about the traditional nature-dependent model. You have a mother hen, she lays a clutch of eggs, and then she has to sit on them for 3 weeks to incubate them.
Right. And while she's sitting on them, she isn't laying any new eggs for you to sell.
Correct. Her production stops entirely. Furthermore, her ability to keep those eggs at the exact right temperature is entirely dependent on her own biological health.
And the weather outside.
And predators. It is a wildly inefficient, high-risk way to propagate your stock.
So the hatchery fixes this.
What the modern industrial incubation technology does is brutally effective. It completely fires the mother hen.
It removes her from the equation entirely.
Completely.
We just abstract the concept of motherhood into a metallic cabinet.
Exactly. It is applied biological science. By synthetically replicating the perfect hatching conditions, dialing in the exact warmth and the precise humidity, the farm dictates the absolute terms of reproduction.
They are no longer waiting on the whims of nature.
No, they are scheduling it on a calendar.
They know exactly how many units of fresh stock will come online next Tuesday at noon.
Yes. And by doing this internally, they create a closed-loop supply chain.
I get it.
If an entrepreneur relies on buying day-old chicks from an outside commercial supplier, they expose their entire operation to external risk.
Like what?
Well, what if the supplier raises their prices by 20%? What if a massive winter storm shuts down the interstate and the delivery trucks can't reach your facility?
Or what if the supplier has a disease outbreak and halts production?
Exactly. By managing the hatchery internally with this extreme level of technological precision, the entrepreneur builds a fortress around their supply chain.
They control their own raw material.
Guaranteeing they never run out of the vital biological asset that drives the revenue.
They own the means of biological production. Okay, so the incubators do their job, the synthetic womb opens, and the chicks hatch.
And then the clock starts.
Right, because the life cycle management doesn't let up for a second. The moment these chicks emerge, they enter the post-hatch phase, which looks like an absolute logistical sprint.
It is a critical window of vulnerability.
The source video shows the workers immediately descending on the hatchlings. They're sorting them by hand, separating them out.
A minot again.
Yeah, and then comes the medical intervention. every single chick is immediately administered essential vaccinations.
One by one.
And finally, the healthy vaccinated chicks are packed into specialized boxes, ready to be integrated into the broader farm system or sent out for delivery.
It's very fast-paced.
Now, watching this rapid-fire process, I have to wonder about the math.
What do you mean?
Sorting and vaccinating thousands of tiny chicks sounds incredibly tedious. With a flock that massive, wouldn't statistical probability suggest it's cheaper to just skip the vaccines?
Except a small natural loss rate.
Yeah, like accept a 3 to 5% loss and save all that money on payroll and medical supplies. I imagine the risk of skipping this step in a crowded facility is financially catastrophic, though.
This raises an important question about how we fundamentally view risk management and insurance in modern agriculture.
Okay, tell me more.
When you or I go to the doctor for a flu shot, we are thinking about personal well-being. But in the context of this massive, optimized poultry business, a vaccine has absolutely nothing to do with keeping the chicks happy.
It's not about animal welfare.
Not at the macro level. It is strict, non-negotiable asset protection.
Asset protection.
Think about the environment we just described. You have tens of thousands of biological organisms living in incredibly close proximity.
Sharing the same airways.
Eating from the same mechanized feed lines, drinking from the same water system. Even with the greatest exhaust fans in the world, that high-density environment is a powder keg.
So if one bird gets sick,
the entire facility is compromised. A single, highly contagious avian virus won't just kill 3 to 5% of the flock.
it spreads.
It will sweep through that building like wildfire and wipe out 100% of the birds in a matter of days.
100%.
Yes. And when that happens, the entrepreneur doesn't just lose the birds, they lose the massive capital investment of the feed they already consumed.
Oh, right.
They lose the electricity costs of running the climate control, they lose the labor costs. It is a catastrophic, unrecoverable, total loss.
The business gets completely zeroed out.
Instantly. So that tedious, labor-intensive process of picking up every single chick and manually administering a vaccine.
It's not an operational expense.
No, that is the ultimate insurance policy. If you manage a high-risk financial portfolio, you hedge your bets.
And in the high-density agricultural space, preventative medicine is the hedge.
It is the firewall that guarantees the highly optimized manufacturing plant doesn't suddenly go bankrupt overnight because of a microscopic pathogen.
It completely reframes the entire industry. You aren't just raising animals, you are curating and defending a deeply integrated financial asset against systemic risk.
That's the modern reality.
Looking back at this entire virtual tour of the amazing poultry farm, it really is a breathtaking masterclass in control.
It really is.
The guide promised a blend of manual labor and machinery, and it delivered on every front.
It is an unbroken chain of optimization. You start with the heavy infrastructure, utilizing industrial exhaust fans to secure a rigid climate baseline.
Right.
You implement automated, mechanized feeders to guarantee equal caloric distribution, transforming unpredictable biological growth into a standardized, bankable forecast.
You deliberately deploy meticulous human labor to execute strict, subjective quality control, ensuring the final product protects your brand's reputation.
You utilize sophisticated incubation technology in the hatchery to completely secure your own internal supply chain.
Severing your reliance on third-party vendors and the unpredictable delays of nature.
Exactly. And you enforce a rigorous manual vaccination protocol to ensure your living assets against total catastrophic loss.
When you stack all of these systems together, the engineering, the economics, the biology, you take an incredibly volatile, weather-dependent livelihood and forge it into a highly profitable, remarkably stable manufacturing empire.
It is mind-bending to see how far the industry has evolved past the picture books we all grew up with.
It truly is a testament to what happens when human ingenuity and rigorous economic philosophy are relentlessly applied to living systems.
I couldn't agree more.
It is, and it leaves you with something pretty profound to think about as you go about your day.
What's that?
Well, we have just seen how every single variable of a chicken's biological life cycle can be reverse engineered, controlled, and optimized for maximum yield. From the precise humidity of its synthetic hatching, to the automated delivery of its daily calories, to the hand-stamped curation of its output.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, if we can completely transform the rustic barnyard into a hyper-predictable, tech-driven manufacturing plant, what other traditional, heavily nature-dependent industries out there are right now, quietly waiting to be completely rewritten by the exact same logic?